Good morning, fifth grade. I hope you guys are having a great start to your Thursday. Today we will be working on our math page titled Rays and Angles. It is page 65 and 66. The only thing you will need for this lesson is a ruler. Tomorrow you'll need a ruler and a protractor, so hopefully you took those home after I reminded you on Tuesday and you have those to work with. Today we're going to start by talking about rays. A ray, the definition is right down here in our box. It says a ray is a part of a line that goes on endlessly in one direction. So if we look up here, this would be a picture of a ray. It has a point where it starts and it goes on in one direction and it keeps on going forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Now in this picture, it starts at point A and it goes through point B. Notice how it continues on after point B. It doesn't stop there. That would actually make it a line segment. But since it starts at A and it goes all the way through B and keeps going, it is a ray. We symbolize this in class when we do our arm movements and we have one arm down and we point our other arm out to the side. A ray is read as ray A, B. And this symbol, how we would write this so that people would know what it is we would do a capital A and a capital B. We would name the points that the ray goes through, starts at and goes through. And then on top, we put a very small arrow that goes in one direction that itself looks like a ray. That way, people know that that is ray A, B. Now it is very important when we write the symbol that we always start with the point where the ray starts. So we would always put A first in this case because that is the end point of the ray and it goes through B. So this is where you'll need your ruler. We're going to come over here to number 1 through 5. And we're going to use our ruler to draw the figure, and then we're going to use the symbol to name the figure. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look here, and it says that we're going to draw a ray C, D. Since C is listed first, that means C is where I will start, and D is what I will go through. So that I can see the lines, or the dots, and the letters, I'm going to put my ruler just above those dots. Maybe a little higher. I'm going to start at line or dot C, not line. I'm going to go all the way through line D. Notice that I kept going past point D. Then I'm going to make my arrow showing that it continues after I cross through point D. So it would start right here at point C, go all the way through point D, and we make an arrow. This symbol would be a capital C, a capital D, and then a ray above it to tell us that it is a ray. Number 2 says ray FE. So that means I'm going to start with my ruler above both points. I'm going to start at point F and I'm going to go through point E. Now, if you're having a little bit of trouble holding your ruler, kind of see how I'm holding it. Sometimes rulers like to slip or our papers like to slip. So try to just hold your ruler. I'm even holding it with this hand as well while I draw. And then I'm holding my paper with my thumb so that it doesn't slip. And those things will help you so that your ruler will stay in place and your paper will stay in place. So I have ray. Lines were the other day. I keep wanting to say lines. I have ray FE. I start at point F and I go all the way through E and I keep on going. When I write it, I'm going to write a capital F and a capital E, and then I'm going to put a ray on top. Now you might be thinking, Mrs. Purdue, is it really important that we write it exactly like this? It is. If this is not exactly correct, then it would confuse somebody. They wouldn't know what figure this is or how to draw it or which was the end point. So it is very important that all of these things are here, that our letters are capitalized, that our end point F comes first, and that we have the ray symbol above it. So make sure you have all of those things as you are doing it. The next one is ray NM. I'm going to put this to the side because I'm going to draw a vertical line. I'm going to start at N because N is listed first. I'm going to go through M, and then once I get to the top right there, I'm just going to put an arrow. There's not as much room to continue on for that one. And then for my symbol, I'm going to write capital N, capital M with a ray above it. Then number 4 is ray QR. I'm going to slide my ruler here. I'm going to hold it. And because it said Q first, I'm going to start with Q. And I'm going to go all the way through R. And then I'll keep on going. Make sure you don't stop at R. We don't want a line segment. So here we're going to write capital Q, capital R, and then I'm going to put a ray just above it. All right, for number 5, what I want you to do is I want you to do this on your own. So you'll pause the video in just a moment. You will draw the ray, and then I want you to label the ray down here. And then once you've done that, go ahead and unpause the video to see how you did. All right, you should have number 5 complete. Let's see how we did. We have ray ST, which means I'm going to start at point S, and then I'm going to go all the way through point T, and then I'm going to put my arrow going to the left. So if you have this ray pointing to the left and going all the way through point T, then you have drawn it correctly. Down here, I'm going to write capital S, capital T, with a ray symbol above it, and it should look exactly like that. If you got this problem correct, give yourself a little smiley face over here by number 5. If you missed either the drawing portion or the labeling portion or both, then go ahead and circle number 5 just so that I can see how you're doing when we turn this back in. So a smiley face if you got it right, and a circle if you missed any of these parts here. All right, we're going to move on to the next section. The next section is about angles. So we've talked about this a little bit in class, that an angle is formed when 2 rays share the same endpoint. The shared endpoint is called the vertex. So if we look at this sample that they have for us, we would say that point B is the vertex. This is the point that both of these rays share. It's also the corner point where they come together, we call the vertex. Then we would say ray BA and ray BC, those are the names of them, BA and BC, form this angle. We would name this angle over here, gives us 3 samples of how we would name it. So it says to name an angle, the vertex can be used alone or as the middle of 3 points. So that means that we could name it by doing the angle symbol and B, because B is the vertex. Or we can name it angle A, B, C. Notice that A, B, C, B is in the middle. Or we could name it angle CBA, which would be CBA. We can go in either direction to name this angle, but we must have B in the middle. If you notice for both of these, letter B is in the middle because it is the vertex of that angle. So anytime we have an angle, the vertex will always be in the middle. We're going to use the symbol to name this figure. It says name the 2 rays that form this angle. Well, we have 1 ray going this direction and we have 1 ray going this direction. The ray going from here to here, we would say is ray YX, because remember, we always start at that end point. So we would come over here and we would write YX in capital letters with a ray symbol above it. Then the other way is YZ. So we're going to write a capital Y and a capital Z with a ray above it. Ray YZ and YX form our angle. Number 7 says to circle the vertex on the diagram. So let's look over here and we're going to find the vertex. Remember up here it tells us that where these two rays come together is called the vertex. So they come together at point Y. So we're going to circle point Y and we're going to name it by just writing Y. The point does not have a symbol in our geometry when we are naming it, so we would just write the letter. Number 8 says, write 2 other names for angle Y. So if you look up here, they gave us the first one where they labeled it just using the vertex. We need to come up with the 2 other names for this angle. To write that, we're going to need to make an angle symbol that looks like this. And then we're going to make Y go in the middle each time. So we're going to do Z, Y, X. We're naming those points, Z, Y, X, with the vertex in the middle. So that's what we're going to write here, Z, Y, X. And then we can go the other direction, X, Y, Z. So we're going to do our angle symbol. It's very important that that is there. X, Y, Z. Notice in both of these, Y is the middle letter because Y is the end point. It is the vertex where these 2 rays come together to form the angle. Down here for numbers 9 through 11, we're going to use the 3 points to name the angle. So we can go in any direction we want, but because it said use the 3 points, that means we have to have 3 letters down here. So the first one, we're going to make an angle symbol like this. And then we can name it either D, E, F, or F, E, D. So for mine, I'm going to name it F, E, D. Notice how all my letters are capitalized and I have that angle symbol here. That shows me that this is an angle and the points are F, E, D, and it shows me that the vertex is going to be E. On number 10, I'm going to again draw my angle symbol. And then I can do either G, H, I or I, H, G. I'm going to go ahead and do G, H, I. And this would tell me that this is angle GHI for our points and that the vertex is letter H or point H. Go ahead and we're going to do 11 like we did 5 up here. I want you to pause the video and see if you can answer 11 correctly. All right, you should have the answer to number 11. I'm going to show you both answers that you could have. You could have angle JKL, or you can have angle LKJ. So as long as you have one of these and the letters are capitalized, you have your angle symbol, and K is in the middle with the other 2 letters on the side, go ahead and give yourself a star next to number 11. If you don't have the correct answer, make sure you fix it and circle number 11 so that I know that you had a little bit of difficulty with that. All right, we're gonna flip over to the back. We've got some more new information. There's a lot of new information on this page today. We've talked about all of these in class, but we're going to go over them formally on our paper today. So we're going to talk about types of angles. There are 4 types of angles that we are going to be dealing with. The first is called a right angle. A right angle measures exactly 90 degrees. It looks like the corner of a square or a rectangle, and it has this little red box or sometimes a little black box right in here that symbolizes that this is a right angle and it measures 90 degrees. We would label this as angle ABC, and we would say angle ABC is a right angle. Remember, we do this in class by putting our fingers to our elbow, and one of our arms is going horizontal and the other is going vertical. The next angle is an acute angle. This is an angle that measures less than 90 degrees. So it's going to be anywhere from 1 degree to 89 degrees. This says the angle DEF is an acute angle. Because acute angles are smaller than right angles, sometimes we say they're cute little angles because they're so little and small. So we can remember that by saying it's a cute little angle if it is an acute angle. An obtuse angle is a really big, wide angle, and it's going to measure greater than 90 degrees. So that means anything from 91 degrees to 179 degrees will be an obtuse angle. So this says the angle GHI is an obtuse angle, and you can see it's nice and big and wide. The final angle is called a straight angle, and this one measures exactly 180 degrees. It is flat. There is no bend in this angle. This says the angle JKL is a straight angle. So let's look down here. We're going to classify these angles based on what we see up here at the top. So we're going to classify the angle as acute, obtuse, or right. And if we were in class, I would have you raise your hand and we would explain our answer, but I'm just going to explain it to you as we go through. So number 12, we have an angle that is really wide and big. We know that if it was going up like this, it would be 90 degrees, but it is much wider. And because it's much wider, we're going to say it is an obtuse angle. Then for number 13, we have an angle that has a line that goes straight across horizontally and straight up vertically. And it has this little box in here which symbolizes that it is a 90-degree angle. So if it is a 90-degree angle, then it is a right angle. So we're going to write the word right. Then for number 14, we see that this angle is very small. We know that if it was going straight up like this, it would be a right angle, but it's much smaller, not as hungry as an obtuse angle. It is an acute angle. It measures less than 90 degrees. All right, we're going to come down here, and we have 3 directions here. The first is we are going to use the symbol and 3 points to name the angle. So that's what we're going to do on this top line. Our second direction is to classify the angle as acute, obtuse, right, or straight. That's going to go in the second line. And then the last one is number 3, to write the measure of the angle. So I'm going to show you how to do that using the protractors they have given us, and we will put that on the third line. So let's look at this first angle that we have here, number 15. And the first thing we need to do is we need to use the symbol and 3 points to name the angle. Remember, reading our directions several times is very helpful to make sure we don't skip one of our directions. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to name it using the points, and I'm going to make sure my center point is in the middle. So I'm going to name this angle NOP. So I'm going to make my angle symbol, capital N, capital O, capital P. Then My second direction says to classify the angle as acute, obtuse, right, or straight. Well, when I look at this, it is much bigger than a straight up and down right angle. So this is going to be an obtuse angle. Now, to measure this angle, we're going to start by looking at this line. This line is going to start at 0 degrees. And if we look at our protractor, you have two sets of numbers. You have an outside set and an inside set. Well, because this line is 0 degrees, we would not go from 0 to 170. We're not in a really fast car. So we would go from 0 to 10. All of these little tick marks here are 1 degree. So we would go 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, and we would keep counting this inside line until we get to where the other part, the other ray goes through. So on this side of the ray, it's 120 degrees. On this side is 140, and it's going right through the one in between. So we would say that this is 130, and we're going to use this little mark for degrees. So 130 degrees is the measure of this angle, which shows us that it is much bigger than 90, which means our obtuse classification is correct. And we have now done all three directions for number 15. Number 16, we're going to label the angle. We're going to name it. So we're going to do X, Y, Z. You could do Z, Y, X. But we're going to make the angle symbol. We're going to do X, Y, Z. Now, when I look at this angle, it is very close to having this line go straight up and down, but it's not quite up vertically going straight. It's not making a right angle. So it is a little bit smaller than a right angle. So we're going to write acute. And when we measure our angle, we're going to make sure that it is in fact less than 90 degrees and that our acute classification is correct. So again, we're going to look at ray YZ, and this starts at the 0 degree mark. Remember, we're not going to go right to 170. We're going to go to 10, which means we're going to use these inside numbers, not the outside numbers. And the inside numbers put this as 50, 60, 70, 80 degrees. So we're going to write 80 degrees, and then we're going to check and see 80 degrees is less than 90 degrees. So our classification of acute is correct. Let's look at number 17. Number 17's name is going to be angle TUV. Remember, we're always putting that center point in the middle. So we've got angle T, our vertex U, and V. Then as I look at this angle, I notice something about the labeling. It has a box here. The little box inside shows me that it is a right angle. So I'm going to write the word right. And I know that all right angles measure 90 degrees, but let's double check. So this ray, UV, is going this direction, and it's at 0 degrees. Remember that we are not going to go from 0 to 170. We're going to go from 0 to 10. So this time we're going to use these outside numbers. And we're going to come up and see that the ray UT goes straight through 90 degrees. So my angle measures 90 degrees. Then my last one, number 18, my angle is going to be PQR. Remember, we're always putting that middle point, that center point, that vertex in the middle. So angle PQR, angle symbol, all capital letters, vertex in the middle. This angle, if we look back up at the top, looks just like a straight angle. So we're going to write straight on the line. And then we're going to look at the ray QR, and this starts at 0 degrees. We're going to go from 0 to 10, and we're going to go all the way through on these inside numbers. And we notice we get to 170, but we have 10 tick marks, and this bottom part is going to be 180 degrees. So on our line, we're going to write 180 degrees. And that clarifies and shows us that our classification of a straight angle is correct. All right, I hope you guys did a fantastic job on this paper. If you need to go back and watch this video to help you on anything else or to help you on your homework, please feel free to. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.